The old woman sat alone on the cold metal bench, her coat pulled tight against the wind. Far beyond the city skyline, a storm crawled over the horizon, slow, swollen, and bruised purple with lightning. Each gust sent the streetlights flickering, making the city glow and dim like it was breathing. The wind picked up. Newspapers skittered across the pavement. The neon signs across the street shimmered and danced like they were underwater. She didn't notice the shape at first. A large creature, wings folded tight against its body, clung to the shadow behind the bus shelter. Bat-like wings, long limbs, eyes that reflected the street light in a dull, hungry amber. It watched her. Not moving, not breathing, just waiting. The woman rubbed her hands together, unaware of the silhouette stretching just a little too far behind her. A little too tall, a little too wrong. Then, headlights, the bus hissed to a stop, doors folding open with a tired groan. She stood, stepped aboard, and took her seat near the back. As the bus pulled away, she glanced out the window. For a heartbeat, she saw it, the shadow peeling itself off the wall, slipping back into the dark as if the night itself swallowed it whole. Her breath fogged the glass. Her pulse quickened. The storm rolled closer. The storm rolled in like it carried a personal grudge against the city. Clouds stacked on clouds, black on bruised gray, lit from within by flashes that looked less like lightning and more like something alive, clawing at the sky. Tonight wasn't going to be bad. Tonight was going to be punishment. Miles away, where the streetlights gave up and the trees took over, a homeless man trudged through the underbrush, with his pack slung over one shoulder. In hailstorms he knew the smell of rain before it fell, and he knew he had maybe 20 minutes before the sky opened up. He found a quiet patch of woods, a little hollow between two old pines, and set his tent stakes fast. The wind hissed through the branches overhead. The first drops tapped the leaves like impatient fingers. He crouched beside a small fire, coaxing it to life. The flames caught, warm and hopeful. He poured water into a dented tin cup, dropped in a scoop of instant coffee, and held it over the fire. For a moment, it felt almost peaceful. But the woods weren't quiet. Not really. Something shifted between the trees. Too heavy for a deer, too deliberate for the wind. A low growl rolled through the darkness, vibrating the ground more than the air. The man froze. The cup trembled in his hand. He looked up. Two ember eyes stared back at him from the black, wide, unblinking. Hungry? A shape unfolded behind them, wings stretching like torn leather, claws scraping bark as it stepped forward. The fire sputtered. The growl deepened. And then darkness. The storm swallowed the woods whole. The storm finally broke. Rain hammered the canopy, turning the forest floor into mud and trembling puddles. Lightning cracked overhead, white and violent, revealing the campsite in stuttering flashes. The fire was out. The tent was torn open, and the man was gone. Only drag marks remained. Long, deep grooves in the wet earth, leading away from the camp, into the darker part of the woods, where the trees grew too close together. For a while, no one noticed. Not until dawn, a pair of hikers, soaked from the night storm, stumbled upon the abandoned camp. They stopped dead when they saw the shredded tent, the spilled coffee tin, the footprints that ended too suddenly. One of them whispered, "A bear," but the other shook his head. The claw marks were too long, too precise, too intentional. A low hum filled the air, not from the storm, not from the wind, but from something deeper in the woods, a vibration that crawled up their spines and made their teeth ache. They backed away, but curiosity pulled them forward. They followed the drag marks for maybe 20 yards before the trail simply stopped. No body, no blood, just a circle of flattened grass, and a smell like wet leather and old bones. Lightning flashed again. For a split second, one of the hikers saw something perched high in the trees, wings folded tight, eyes glowing faintly in the branches. When the thunder rolled, it was gone. The hikers ran. They didn't stop until they reached the road, gasping, shaking, swearing they'd seen something, watching them from the tree line. By noon, police tape ringed the campsite. Officers muttered theories: animal attack, foul play. Maybe the storm scattered the evidence. But the forest knew better, and somewhere above the city, as the storm clouds thinned, the creature spread its wings again. Because the night had only fed its hunger, and hunger always returns. Before we continue this story, please like, share. This will make all my sinister dreams come true. Now, back to the tale. The storm had passed, but the woods still held its anger. The air smelled like wet pine and something else. something metallic. Running Bear crouched near the shredded tent, brushing rainwater off a torn flap. Jones paced the perimeter, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the ground. No body, Jones muttered. No blood, just track marks that go nowhere. Running Bear didn't answer. He was listening to the forest, to the silence. He stood slowly, eyes narrowing. That's what's wrong. Shredded cloth, a shoe still on a foot, a hand caught in the crook of a branch. Jones followed his gaze, his breath caught. Running Bear stepped closer, squinting. The branches weren't broken. Nothing was snapped or bent. A bear didn't do that. A bear didn't do that. No, Running Bear said quietly. A bear doesn't climb this high, and it doesn't arrange things. It was watching him, he said. Jones turned in a slow circle, suddenly aware of every shadow. From where? A whispered. By late afternoon, storm clouds broke, leaving the city washed clean but uneasy. People filled the streets, pretending the night before hadn't happened. But something had changed. Detective Running Bear felt it the moment he stepped out of the woods. The air was wrong. Too still, too expectant. He and Detective Jones drove back toward the city, mud stilled on their boots. The man's remains burned into their minds. Crossing the bridge into downtown, Running Bear noticed the birds. They weren't perched on power lines. They were gone. Jones tapped the steering wheel nervously. You feel that? Running Bear nodded. It's moving. Toward us? Toward them, Running Bear said, looking at the crowded sidewalks. Just after 5 p.m., calls started coming in. A delivery driver swore something huge, flew over his truck, blotting out the sun for a second. A woman walking her dog reported a shadow with wings perched on the roof of an abandoned hotel. A group of teenagers claimed they heard growling echoing through the storm drains. Most of the calls were dismissed as storm nerves. But then the power flickered. Once, twice, then whole blocks went dark. People looked up, confused, annoyed, unaware that something was gliding between the rooftops. Silent, patient, choosing. On the 12th floor of the old Harrington building, a janitor mopped the hallway, humming to himself. He paused when he heard tapping on the window. Not rain, not branches, something heavier. He turned. Two ember eyes stared at him through the glass. The creature clung to the side of the building, wings wrapped around its body like a cloak. Its breath fogged the window. The janitor dropped the mop. The lights went out. A scream echoed down the stairwell. Running Bear's radio crackled to life. Unidose. We've got a possible jumper at the Harrington building static. Then a second voice. Shaky, terrified. It's not a jumper. It's something else. It's something else. Something's climbing the building. Jones slammed the lights on. Running Bear grabbed the dash, eyes narrowing. It's hunting, he said. Yeah, Jones muttered, and had just found a bigger playground. As night approached, the storm clouds returned, rolling in like a second wave of anger. Streetlights flickered. Shadows stretched. People hurried home without knowing why. High above them, the creature perched on a rooftop, wings unfurling in the wind. It looked down at the city, the lights, the movement, the noise. So many places to hide, so many places to hunt. Tonight would not be like the woods. Tonight, the city belonged to it. Evening traffic clogged the streets as storm clouds rolled back in, thicker and darker than before. People hurried under awnings, clutching bags, umbrellas snapping in the wind. Then the first scream cut through the noise. A woman on the corner pointed upward, her voice cracking. Something's on the roof. Heads turned. Phones came out. People squinted into the gloom. A shape moved, too big to be a bird, too fast to be a person. It crawled along the edge of the building, wings dragging behind it like torn curtains. Someone shouted, "Is that a drone?" Another yelled, No, that's alive." The creature leapt. It didn't attack. Not yet. It just glided across the street, silent as a shadow, landing on the opposite rooftop, with a thud that shook loose bricks. That was enough. Panic detonated. Cars slammed on brakes. People ran in every direction. A vendor's cart overturned, sending fruit rolling into the gutter. A mother grabbed her child and sprinted. A man dropped his briefcase and didn't look back. Someone tripped, got up, tripped again, screaming for help. The city's emergency sirens wailed, not for weather, not for fire, but for unknown threat. Windows slammed shut. Shops locked their doors. People pounded on them, begging to be let inside. Above it all, the creature moved from rooftop to rooftop, watching the chaos it had created. Not attacking, not feeding, just choosing. Inside the 911 call center, phones lit up like a Christmas tree. Something's flying over the buildings. It grabbed a man off the fire escape. My lights went out and something was breathing outside my window. There's a shadow on my roof. It's moving. Its operators tried to keep up, but the calls stacked faster than they could answer. One dispatcher whispered to another, "This isn't a person. This isn't anything we've trained for." Their unmarked car screeched to a stop near the square. Lights flashing. People swarmed them, shouting, grabbing at their jackets, begging for protection. Jones pushed through the crowd. "Back up. Everyone back up." Running Bear scanned the rooftops. He saw it. The creature perched on the old clock tower, wings half open, eyes glowing like embers in the stormlight. Jones followed his gaze and froze. "Oh, hell!" Running Bear's voice dropped to a low, grim certainty. It's not hiding anymore. A bolt of lightning split the sky. The creature spread its wings, massive, leathery, impossible, and let out a sound. That wasn't a roar, wasn't a scream, but something in between. A sound that hit the city like a physical force. People dropped to their knees. Car alarms went off. Windows rattled. Dogs howled. Lights flickered and died. The city went dark, and in that darkness, the creature vanished. Not flying away, just gone. The panic didn't stop. It got worse, because now the city knew something was hunting them, and it could be anywhere. The city was still shaking from the panic. Sirens wailed, but Running Bear stood perfectly still in the middle of the chaos, staring up at the rooftops where the creature had vanished. Jones jogged up beside him, breathless. "Tell me you've got an explanation. Tell me this is some kind of, I don't know, experimental animal, a military thing." "Hey." Running Bear didn't answer. He was remembering something. Something old. Something his grandfather told him when he was a boy, sitting by the fire on nights when the wind howled like it carried voices. Jones grabbed his arm. "Running Bear? Talk to me." Running Bear finally spoke, voice low, steady, and heavy with memory. "This isn't the first time my people have seen something like this." Jones blinked. "What do you mean your people? What are we talking about here?" Running Bear looked toward the storm clouds gathering again over the skyline. "A story," he said, "older than this city. Older than the tribes. Older than the land itself." Running Bear continued, eyes distant. "My grandfather called it the Night Feeder. A spirit that wasn't born. It was made. Created from storms, shadows, and the hunger of things that should never walk the earth." Jones swallowed. "A spirit, like a ghost." "No," Running Bear said. "Worse." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It was said to come during great storms. When the sky was angry, when the land was wounded. It fed on fear first, then flesh." Jones shook his head. "You're telling me that thing is from a legend?" Running Bear met his eyes. "Legends don't survive thousands of years unless something made them real." Running Bear pointed toward the rooftops. "My grandfather said the Night Feeder always watched first. Studied, learned. It didn't strike until the people knew it was there." Jones looked around at the panicked crowds, the flashing lights, the chaos. "So this panic is exactly what it wanted," Running Bear said. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the skyline. "And now that the city is afraid, it will start feeding." Jones rubbed his face. Okay. Let's say you're right. How do we stop it?" Running Bear hesitated. There was only one warning in the old stories. Jones stared at him. "Which is?" Running Bear's voice dropped to a whisper. "Do not let it grow bold. If it believes the city belongs to it, nothing will survive the night." Thunder rolled across the buildings like a drum, and somewhere above them, unseen, the creature let out a low, rumbling growl that vibrated the air. Running Bear looked up. "It's already claiming territory." The city was in chaos. Sirens wailed. People ran through the streets. Helicopters circled the skyline, spotlights slicing through the storm clouds. Detective Running Bear stood on the rooftop of the Harrington building, rain soaking his jacket. Detective Jones climbed up behind him, panting. "Tell me you have a plan." Running Bear didn't answer at first. He was staring at the storm. The way the clouds churned unnaturally, like something inside them was breathing. "My grandfather said the Night Feeder grows stronger with fear, but it grows visible when challenged. Meaning, we call it out." A roar tore through the sky. Not thunder, not wind, but something alive. The Night Feeder dropped from the clouds like a falling star, wings spread wide, claws extended. It landed on the opposite rooftop with a force that shook the buildings. People screamed below. Cars crashed. Lights flickered. "Oh my God!" Enough. The creature's head snapped toward him. Its eyes glowed like molten amber. Its wings unfurled, stretching wider than a city bus. "You want the city? You come through me." The creature leapt. It soared across the gap between buildings. Claws outstretched, jaws opening wide. Ronnie Bear stood his ground. At the last second, lightning struck the metal antenna beside him, a blinding flash. The creature recoiled, shrieking, wings folding around its body. It fears the sky's fire. The storm made it, but the storm can break it. He grabbed the metal antenna, sparks dancing around his hands. "Hey!" The creature lunged again. Running Bear swung the lightning-charged antenna like a spear. It connected. A crack of thunder exploded across the rooftops. The creature was blasted backward, tumbling off the edge of the building. It fell, down past the windows, down past the fire escapes, down into the darkness between the buildings. A final roar echoed. Then silence. Jones crawled to the edge and looked down. Nothing. No body, no wings, no blood. Just stream. Did we kill it? No. But we made it retreat. He looked out over the city, the lights slowly coming back on, the sirens fading, people emerging from hiding. For now, the city is safe. And later, it'll come back. But next time, it won't find us afraid. High above the city, on a distant rooftop, two ember eyes opened in the darkness, watching, waiting. The storm rumbled softly. The night feeder was not done, but neither was the city.